Well, hi there. This is going to be a AV Linux MX21.3 jack setup, the jack sound system setup. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Well, here's the interface. This is my computer's front page. Well, before we get into jack, and this is the jack, dashboard right there. But I'm going to keep it down there. And the reason being is so I can hit my graph buttons, my patch bay buttons when I'm in Ardour. Because Ardour will take up, a lot of real estate. Actually, Ardour will take up the whole thing. Ardour doesn't even like this. But let's go over here first before we get into looking at the Ardour system, because it's kind of connected. Here's the kernel. This is a licorice kernel, and it's up to date to the latest one. It updates itself through, the system here. Probably about once a month, maybe once every 2 months. It just depends. Lately, it's been doing it a lot. And then this here just shows basically everything about, my CPU. Right now, it's running at 40 degrees centigrade. That's about normal. It'll bounce up a little bit, I'm sure, when we go into, using the GUIs, whatever. And then this is just the stats of my computer. My volume set at 100. This is how much my CPU or the hard disk is using my C drive. And then this is how much my RAM is using. 2.6 gigabytes, but out of 64 gigabytes, it's nothing. And then this is just my local stuff. So, tonight it's 11:20 in the panhandle of Florida, and it's 73 degrees outside. Feels like 78 or 77. Clear, humidity's at 69. It's not too unhumid. And blah, 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 and it gives the sunrise and sunset. No moon tonight. Okay. So here we are at the jack audio connection, and we're going to go to the setup. Now when you load MX21, not only do you have to go and do this one thing in the jack setup, but you also have to tell the computer. And what I have is a little M2, Mo2 M2. That means it's just got a 2 in. And the reason I like Mo2 is because it has a display. You can kind of adjust your microphones real easily, or whatever else you're playing. And that being said, I'm probably going to upgrade to a Mo2 4 ends. Just gives you more options. Okay, so let's go to the setup here in jack. And it's already been set up. So there's really nothing to touch except for this. You want to go in here and, tell it which one of these things you're going to use. If you don't have an audio interface, I guess you have to go up here and fool around with your NVIDIA stuff. This is just... Anyway, I've just used this, the M2, and it's just always worked. So, and then, this is my sample rate. Well, I used to use see, what was it, 4200 or 46? Not sure, but the sample rate blows my mind, and I just let the computer, you know, do that. So, say my frames per period is, 1024 now. I don't know, is that right? Because, it's what around here is what I used to use. Now it's saying, whatever. So I just leave it alone. It's fine. It works great. Buffer size 3. Yeah. So let's go to the options page. And remember, you have to tell this same information not only to your computer, but Ardour. When you go into Ardour, it's not going to make any noise until it knows where the noise is coming from. So you have to go in there and tell it, I'm running the M2. And it'll be glad to do it. So then the options, now here's what the AV Linux folks have done. They've configured all this for you. And I'm pretty sure this is why it works so well. This is like a marriage between pulse audio and jack. It's sort of the utilities that bind them together in one way or the other. And I'll show you here in the patch bay. I'll go down here to the graph, and if you just look at this is my M2. It says so right there in the system there. It's got a little M2 right down there. So it shoots it over to the jack source, and then the jack of the M2, and then the jack source spits it out. And really it goes back to the M2. But meanwhile, this configuration pretty much runs everything. The internet. When I plug in Ardour, it's very different. It's going through MIDI, everything comes into play. And there's a big Ardour. This is this thing here, and I don't exactly know, jack input client, whatever that is. Nothing right now. So anyway, that's really about it. Display, don't care. That's all fine. I like the way the display looks. I guess you could make these numbers bigger. As blind as I am, that's probably a good idea, but I can see it just fine. And then, miscellaneous. I'll leave it there for a minute. So you take a screenshot. I think that's what for anybody getting into this Linux thing. So I just went to this AV Linux MX21 because it just was so reliable, and it has been reliable. I don't know why they just don't turn jack on automatically. I suppose I could go in and configure it to do that, but I kind of like the ritual. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to delve deeper and deeper into this wonderful distro and explain more and more about it as time goes on. We will get into Ardour and a lot of other things this machine does. Might even play a game of Tux one of these days. So let's go back into here, and I'm going to stop recording. So Buenos dias, my friends.